Yeah, the number two top story is thou mayest privatize Bitcoin Core. This is from Scoresby, 19 comments, 13,000 sats, 9 hours ago. Bitcoin territory. What is this, Kian? This another core
Yeah, so
post?
another what?
Oh, core post?
Another what post?
Bitcoin Core node post, I guess.
Yeah, I think this. Yeah, this relates back to I guess what we were just talking about a little bit at least. It is more like sort of echoes of the off return debate. Uh, but Kanzer, known as Kanzer on Twitter and on Stacker.News, he and go and at least his pseudonym that a person likes human like pseudonym that he uses is Brian Bishop. Been in Bitcoin a really long time. At one point, was a co-founder of the bank in North Dakota, awesome bank. I forget Custodia. Was a co-founder of Custodia. Did a lot of work with vaults and vaults like without new opcodes. Anyway, they wrote something on the Bitcoin Core mailing list, uh, uh, arguing that Bitcoin Core might want to be privatized. Um, and I remember coming across this post and finding it really interesting, and it's at least great food for thought. But basically, what he argues is that Bitcoin, like the development of Bitcoin Core, it might be better if it's not so public and doesn't give people many rights as far as commenting, and doesn't give them a right to consume precious resources of Bitcoin Core maintainers. And in order to defend Bitcoin Core maintainers' time um, and everything and energies and things like that, might it be best if Bitcoin Core is he uses the word privatized, I think, to get people's attention. But take the Bitcoin Core repo private, do a lot of the discussion about features and changes and things to a large extent in private, and then uh, you know everything will be public. The code will be public still. It'll still be open source. Um, to the extent that they want private conversations revealed and have public comment on them, they will make them so. But they won't have to have an issue like the off return debate happen as the result of a pull request. Um, have the whole community spiral and spend months into the kind of debate and stuff that we had. Um, so that's like the general gist of his post, and he gives a bunch of good reasons for it. And there's also some evidence, or there's also already there are venues for Bitcoin Core contributors and people who contribute in any capacity, not just maintainers. They will have private conversations about features and things that aren't public already. And so he's basically saying, why don't we do um, more of that? And then so Scoresby took that post and then also, as a result, explored what open source means, because in some sense, this is what Brian Bishop Kanzer proposing is that no longer open source. And I think Brian would argue that it is still open source. It's just the development is private. And I think that's what Scoresby came to a conclusion of themselves upon exploring it, is that open source does not really mean much more than the source is open. Um, and the source is the source code of the programs are free for you to do what you want with them and free for you to view them. Um, and so that, to a large extent, that's what uh, Scoresby says here. And then he ties it into um, uh, East of Eden, which I read. I think I read it for the first time last year. Um, but it is
Do 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 do. Let me see there. Can you hear me? Oh, there you go. We're still live.
Okay. I don't
Yeah,
know where I got lost. I
it's all
probably should
good.
have plugged in here. But,
No, I think
uh,
just the deep state, taking us down. You're getting.
uh,
It's been a spicy episode.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Literally,
Okay.
like I was on the main Wi-Fi, and then like I got kicked off the main Wi-Fi, and then it threw me to our backup Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know where I
No,
was in
you
there.
you were getting to the point about
In
the
my
you were getting to the point about privatizing um privatizing Bitcoin Core and how it's justified. Are you there?
oh,
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of the whole thing about the whole post. So it's hard to tell where I was, but I guess I'll just retell starting roughly 25% ahead.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Kanzer makes this argument about privatizing Bitcoin Core, and it causes Scoresby, who wrote this post, to um, que- question whether that would be a violation of what it means for Bitcoin Core to be open source. Like, can something be open source and still be private the way Brian Bishop or Kanzer describes? And Scoresby comes to the conclusion that yeah, because being open source doesn't really give you any special rights to like the maintainer's time or to be part of any kinds of discussions or to even contribute to the project. All that open source means is that the source, free and open source means is that the source is available and that you can modify it and do what you want with it. You can, yeah, and that's basically it. And so Brian Bishops's post, although it offended many people, it didn't. And I think will not be pursued, is consistent with open source at the very least. And so Scoresby has that realization, and then compares it to the book, or then ties in the book East of Eden, that towards the end the uh, discusses Genesis in the Bible and the term "thou shalt," which is pretty awesome. I read East of Eden last year, and um, basically that phrase has been perhaps mistranslated as kind of what the conclusion of the characters in the book is, and "thou shalt" implies that you should do something, or it will happen, and the book concludes instead that "thou shalt" has been mistranslated from "thou mayest," and "thou mayest" means that you have choice, you have free will, you um, you get to choose whether you are, say, absolved of sin. And so that's how Scoresby ties it into this really, I think one of Steinbeck's best uh,
Yeah.
works of fiction, is that's kind of what that even though Bitcoin Core would be privatized,
Yeah.
you still have um, you still have freedom, with the source code.
Yeah.
But you have no special right. You don't have a special right to be absolved of sin. Um, you can choose. You can, if you choose to fork Bitcoin's code, read it, do it, modify it. Anyway, kind of we're tying three things together here. But I thought it was a pretty cool post, especially for anyone who's read East of Eden. If you haven't read East of Eden, I highly recommend it. It's probably one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. Just like absolute poetry and just lots of wisdom. Anyway.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? What's your thoughts on this? Do you have any thoughts on it? Or what do the
Well,
stackers?
I don't think it's.
What the stackers say
Oh,
too?
yeah, I'm not. I don't really know everything that Stacker said, but my thoughts on it are that it's worth talking about these things if it helps people come to the realization that Scoresby did and helps us understand the nature of open source, even because we all think of Bitcoin might be different than other things. Maybe the same rules don't apply. So I tend to agree with Scoresby that it won't happen, but it's it's worth talking about nearly anything that might improve Bitcoin
Oh,
because
so it
we
hasn't
all think
happened
it'll
yet,
be
or they
important.
already decided? It feels like they decided basically.
No, it didn't. They didn't.
Oh, okay.
It's still public. It's not a private. It's not a private repo. It's not privatized.
I think it would
It's
be.
still public.
I think it would be a sad day if that did happen.
Yeah,
Personally, I think
yeah,
it would
I
be a
agree.
very sad day. I would just pour out a beer, be crying like Michael Jordan if that were to happen. It's yeah, it would be very sad. It would just
Yeah, I think
yeah.
it would be the end of the world. It would just be sad. I think that's kind of the point that Scoresby is making is that at the end of the world is when we don't have access to Bitcoin's software anymore at all, and
It's kind of
or
how
it
I
becomes closed source or something.
yeah, it's kind of how I feel about Jack Mahler's. It's like that. The same thing. Just kind of
Yeah,
sad. Yeah. Dang. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But I
it
wouldn't
won't.
be.
I
I
don't think it
honestly
will.
wouldn't be shocked just the way the timeline's going. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd I say? ETF man. Anyways, let's go to the number one story. Hopefully that never happens. I'll start praying.